Shows itself to you that Bill Smith didn't take the proper care of Minnie the way he could have. To have her sick and die, take her head rats and her land. That oil, which should go to her sister as your wife, well, he's taking money that by right should go to Molly. The mother, Lizzie.
She's not in good shape.
She won't last. Most Osage don't live past 50. With these women dying, with how Osage suffer from illness, you have to make it the head rats come to you. You see?
Hello there. Have you fallen into an open manhole recently? Do you find yourself in the company of strangers? Well, then you might very well be in the feature underground. My name is Hunter Lanier, and every single week, with some exception, we review a movie currently streaming on the Criterion channel. But every once in a while, I get invited to a press screening of some kind. And I was lucky enough to be invited to the press screening for Killers of the Flower Moon, the new Martin Scorsese movie. So normally I'm here with a few other people, but I was the only one invited. I want to start my review of Killers of the Flower Moon, coming out October 20th, I believe. I want to start my review with a moment of appreciation. I'm not gonna hold my hand on my heart, but I think it's important to appreciate the fact that we are living at a time when a master of something is still making that thing. I can't think of a single other filmmaker alive that I would consider a master who is still producing movies, music, whatever it is, at a level where you could say he's at the top of his game. I don't know that I would say that I love Killers of the Flower Moon or The Irishman or Silence as much as I love Taxi Driver or Raging Bull, but he's still there's no degradation in the talent. If I love these movies less, it's because he's chosen to do something different. It's not that he's trying to do something and just can't anymore. Also worth noting, how great is it that a new Martin Scorsese movie and a new Rolling Stones album are coming out the same day, on Friday, October 20th. That's pretty cool. So that out of the way, let's get to the movie. And this is the kind of movie where you feel kind of stupid talking about it on YouTube. The format doesn't seem to fit the quality of the work. I want to start the actual review by paraphrasing something that I remember Scorsese himself saying about Alfred Hitchcock's movies. I remember him saying that he preferred the movies that were about characters, as opposed to Hitchcock's movies that were plot-driven. But I bring that up because I feel the same way about Scorsese's movies. I much prefer his character movies as opposed to his plot movies. Now he hasn't made very many plot movies. In fact, the ones that I think of are more recent. Like The Departed is a very plot movie. It hinges on the plot. And I would actually put Killers of the Flower Moon in that category. It is a very plot-driven movie. But within the structure of a plot, Scorsese, he finds the most interesting characters and zooms in on them. So you still have the structure of a plot. But it's not entire. You still have the structure of the plot. It's not a character study per se, but the characters within the plot are the emphasis. So it's sort of a middle ground between the plot, people who are really into plot stuff and people who are into character stuff. I don't really want to go into the plot because you probably already know the plot, or at the very least you can find the plot elsewhere. You're not coming to me to learn about the movie. Go to IMDb. but I'll go through it briefly. So the movie takes place in the Osage region of Oklahoma, and the Osage people, they're given this land, and then it just so happens that they find oil on the land, and all the Osage people all of a sudden become wealthy. And it creates a very interesting and weird dynamic where a lot of the Osage people, especially the young women, are walking around with fur coats and jewelry and very much enjoying their wealth and the lifestyle that comes with it. But what happens is that a lot of people, as soon as people know that there's money here, all of a sudden they all flock. Some of them just to be workers, to be employed, and some of them with ulterior motives. And very soon when the movie starts, and there's no spoilers, there's no spoilers whatsoever. I will avoid spoilers. No spoilers. But very soon in the movie, you see this dynamic of all of the young Osage debutantes all have white husbands. And it becomes very obvious what is happening. So obvious that you start to wonder, how do they not know what's happening? And I think that's one of the questions in the movie. You could look at it as they just don't have a understanding of what money and what people are willing to do for it. Or you can look at it as they know what's happening and they're okay with it.
Monseska kontaska. Ajin milonke konta akaska. Tain taaklia kai.
Insäkkä pa mazeska dina kai, mazeska inki konda kai. Yoktape.
And the dynamic of the Osage debutantes, and you see these kind of opportunistic white men who are looking to marry them. It almost has this medieval Richard III vibe where, royal families or people are trying to marry into royal families and get their money, get their land, get the power. And there's like a Richard III aspect of murdering every single person, murdering every third cousin, second cousin, first cousin, fourth cousin, everyone that I have to take out to get to the top, I will. And that is a part of the movie that is really unique, and such a odd. It's a very early 20th century take on that medieval Richard III climb to power. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is one of these men that arrive looking for money. And his uncle, played by Robert De Niro, has somehow positioned himself as this den mother to this entire region. And through De Niro's character, DiCaprio's character meets the character played by Lily Gladstone, whose name is Molly. And these three characters, DiCaprio's character, De Niro, and Lily Gladstone, they form this very weird, this very unusual love triangle. It's almost like an isosceles love triangle, right? Isosceles, I haven't been to middle school in a while, but I think that's a love triangle that's distorted, and certain sides become more obvious than the others, and then this side goes down a little bit, and everything's a little out of whack. But it is very much a love triangle of the most depraved sort. Let's talk about the performances. Now, normally I don't like talking about performances in movies because I don't think it's the most interesting thing to talk about. A lot of times it just comes down to, is this person good? Is this person bad? Or is he or she believable or not? But in this movie, it's worth talking about. Let's talk about DiCaprio's performance. DiCaprio, I think, has gotten a little bit of a bad rap recently. I think it's become a little cool to dislike him as an actor, when I think he's probably one of the most continually interesting leading men out there. Him and Christian Bale, they seem to gravitate toward almost exclusively interesting movies and interesting characters. And here is no different. He's fantastic as Ernest. And, you know, every musician has their instrument. I think DiCaprio's instrument is stupid. I think he plays stupid better than maybe anyone I've ever seen. He is so, his stupidity in the movie is so endearing that even when he's doing bad things, there's a degree of, well, he's just stupid. He doesn't know what he's doing. And you kind of sympathize with him, because one of the most interesting dynamics in the movie is between him and De Niro's character, his uncle, and the ways in which he's manipulated. There's a scene toward the end where he's asked a question, and you'll know it when you see it. He's asked a question, and his answer is so heartbreaking because it becomes so obvious how dumb he is, and that all the things he's done in the movie have been a result of him just not understanding the situation. And that's the nicest way to put it. And the way that DiCaprio plays stupid, it's almost like they say that the best way to play a drunk is to act like you're not drunk, because drunk people are always trying to not act drunk. So there's like a catch-22 aspect to it. I think it's the same with stupid, where DiCaprio, the genius of his playing stupid is that Ernest at all times, there's this frustration and strain in his face, like he's trying really hard to not look stupid and to seem like he knows what's happening. And in those moments, you can see the struggle and the frustration on his head, in his head, and on his face, when he's trying as hard as he can not to sound stupid. And it's sad, it's kind of funny. You can see him, like, you can see the furrow on his brow as the hamster goes around and around in his head. There's a hilarious moment where De Niro is talking to him about something, and Ernest and like DiCaprio's like looking at him in the eyes, like, are you understanding this? And DiCaprio's like looking away, like trying to pretend that he does understand, and it's really funny. But I love DiCaprio's performance in this movie. I love the character. He's such a, when you watch the movie, he's doing one thing and then he's doing the opposite at the same time. And you're watching it and you're trying to understand, you're trying to get in his head of like, well, how is he balancing these two things in his mind at the same time? And a big part of the movie is you as the viewer trying to understand what is happening here. And how does he reconcile these two things in his brain, in his small brain? And I think that's the question of the movie, is the central question is how can someone do this? How can someone love and then kill that love at the same, I don't mean literally kill, but kill the thing and love the thing at the same time. Lily Gladstone's character, Molly, she's a very different character than the rest of the characters in the movie, because she's very stoic. She's very quiet. And a lot of the performance is what she's not saying, what she's not reacting to. Again, at the end of the movie, there's a scene where she just doesn't respond, and it's the most potent moment of the movie for her character. And I think there would be, I think it's easy, a lesser filmmaker and a lesser writer would have taken her character and turned her into the hero of the story. And there are many moments in the movie where you're sort of, if you've watched a lot of modern movies, you're conditioned to expect a character to say a certain thing, or to have the character give the big audience gives their applause to signal that, oh, I'm on board with this. And there are moments in the movie where you're conditioned like, oh, here it comes, and it doesn't happen. Her character is so much more detailed than that. And they turn her character into a very tragic character, which makes her infinitely more interesting than if she had been the one in the room to say the thing that everyone wants her to say. De Niro's character is such a phenomenal, I don't even want to say villain, because I think villain brings with it a connotation of Darth Vader and, you know, Saruman and all these things. He's a person who is in many ways a sociopath. I wouldn't even call him evil. I would say he just has no moral center. He has no compass. And I would say the same thing about DiCaprio's character. They're not evil, they just lack a moral center. And without the moral center, you know, they have no even like almost understanding of what is good and what is evil. Their only motivation is success. And the only success they understand is money. And that is just so much more interesting and more compelling than having characters be obviously this type of bad person and you have this type of good person, and that's the dynamic. That is just not interesting. It might be more clappy, and I can see people going to this movie and being kind of confused that Scorsese and the filmmakers don't take a more moral stand, but I can't think of a less interesting approach. Now, I don't want to get into a condescending conversation here, but I do want to bring up the fact that how great is it that this is a movie for adults? And when I say a movie for adults, I don't mean a movie with violence in it or sex or language. I mean a movie that presents characters without any kind of, you know, a lot of movies today, they're like moral coloring books. They kind of give you the outline, and you fill it in, and you kind of feel good about yourself, like, oh, I'm making a picture. But it's such a lazy presentation. And in this movie, there is no moral grandstanding. There's no moral position. It merely presents to you a horrifying and tragic section of history, and gives you and finds the most interesting stories within that timeline, and that's it. And it presents them to you. And it's so great that this is a movie that gets made and you can go see. It feels very honest and authentic, and the way movies were during my favorite era of movie making, which was the late 60s and 70s. So I'm so happy that Scorsese is alive. I think we should hook him up to some stem cells or testosterone or whatever we have to do to keep him alive. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to do it, but someone out there should figure it out. Another thing I wanted to mention about the movie is the music, because the recently late Robbie Robertson does the score for the movie. And the movie also has a lot of blues and bluegrass and country music from the time. Jimmy Rogers. I think I might have heard the Carter Family or someone that sounds like them. But that era of music, that 30s and before era. And the music, all that music is great. It fits in. Scorsese has a great history with music. He makes music documentaries. The music, once again, proves to be a great asset to the movie. And what's more, you also get a great Scorsese, you can add it to the file of great Scorsese slow-mo shots. You have the shot of all the Osage people dancing as the oil falls on them, rains on them from the sky. Like James Dean and Giant.
Hello, Jet. What do you want?
Welcome in, babe.
And there are so many great scenes in the movie. At the very beginning, there's an amazing scene between DiCaprio and De Niro when they're first meeting. They're meeting again for the first time in a long time, and they're in De Niro's little living room, and they just have this great conversation where De Niro's asking him what kind of girls he likes, and it's such a darkly funny. There's a lot of comedy in this movie that's very dark, and a lot of people, when you go see it in the theater, I don't think people are gonna laugh. But it is funny. And I think people will find it funny. They just won't know if they should, what their reaction should be.
It's supposed to be a suicide, you dumbbell. You didn't tell him to leave the gun.
I don't know why I told him to leave the gun. I told him exactly.
to leave the gun?
Just like you told me, kid. I don't know why he didn't. I don't know why. I told him just like you told him.
You told him to do it in the front of the head, and why did you do it in the back of the head? It's so simple. The front is the front, the back is the back.
He has to make it look like he done it himself.
It just looks like murder. It's not supposed to be that way. You hear?
I told him the front of the head. I said the front of the head, just like this, just like you told me. I promise you. I promise you. I swear on my children.
No.
I swear on my children, King.
Settle. And don't swear on your children. Makes you look foolish.
Well, I ain't foolish because I know.
You don't think of Scorsese as a comedy director, but he seems to understand comedy better than a lot of comedic directors do. There are so many scenes in the movie that are funny. There's a guy, I wish I knew the actor's name. I should have looked it up. But there's a guy who plays this kind of 2-bit criminal, and he's just funny. The way he talks is funny. He kind of looks funny. Little stuff like that. I just want to end by saying that I am so happy that Martin Scorsese is still alive making movies. I'm so happy that this movie has come out. You know, it's an adult movie. It's a movie that's features complex emotions, complex morality, complex ideas, and doesn't spoon feed you. It doesn't tell you how to feel, or it doesn't tell you how to think. It just presents to you a story, and the most interesting angle of that story the filmmakers and the writers could conceive of. And it's one of those movies that, at least for me, I want to see it again because I want to... The characters, their motivations are so strange and so odd that I want to try to figure them out. I want that time to figure them out. And I love movies that want you to go to them. That don't I don't want movies to come to me. I want to go to movies. I want movies to play hard to get. You know, I don't want a movie on its knees begging me to love it. I want something that kind of walks by and I want to follow it. Right? So I think the movie is great. It's because of the very structured plot. It's not one of my absolute favorite Scorsese movies, but it's probably my favorite movie I've seen this year. This movie, Beau is Afraid, and I haven't seen a lot of stuff that's come out. I need to watch some more in the next couple months. But I highly recommend it. I think don't let the runtime scare you off. The plot will propel you through the movie. I don't think you'll feel the runtime very very often, if at all. I didn't. So I guess that's it for me. Those are all my brain thoughts. I'll have some more as soon as I turn the camera off. I'll have some more tomorrow. I'll have even more the next day. That's how brains work. If you're using them, leave a comment below. If you're looking forward to the movie, let me know what you think about my thoughts. After you've seen the movie, come on back and leave a little review of your own down below. I'll respond to it, or somebody will. We're also on Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, and then we're on all the social medias. We'll be back soon with a Criterion Channel review, and then also I will be reviewing The Holdovers, The Killer, and Poor Things. Those for sure, and then maybe some others. Before you leave, I just want you to remember that every day underground is a good day.
And we don't pay mooks. A mook? I'm a mook, yeah. What's a mook?
A mook? What's a mook? I don't know. What's a mook?
You can't call me a mook.
I can't?
No.